I'm Margie. Standing in the grand conference room, surrounded by the thunderous applause of my colleagues, I still can't quite believe what's just happened. The board has just announced my promotion to CEO, a position I'd never dared to dream of when I first joined this marketing company 5 years ago. As I look around at the smiling faces and feel the congratulations being offered, my mind drifts back to the day everything changed. I grew up in a middle-class family. My parents were hard-working and honest people. My father was a mechanic, a man of few words but with a strong sense of integrity. He instilled in me the value of hard work and responsibility. My mother was a schoolteacher, kind-hearted and detail-oriented. She taught me to pay attention to every little thing and to be reliable. After graduating from college, I joined this marketing firm. It wasn't my dream job, but I thought it would be a stepping stone to something greater. I quickly became known as the person who arrived early and left late, the one who remembered everyone's birthdays and brought in homemade treats for the team. When problems arose, I was the first to fix them, often before anyone else even realized there was an issue. The CEO of our company was Daniel. He came from a wealthy family, and his father had founded the company. Daniel was charming in a boisterous way, always slapping backs and making grand statements. Clients adored him because he took them on fishing trips and remembered their family events. But us employees, we were always a bit wary of him. His mood could swing from jovial to furious in an instant. I'd been with the company for 5 years when the promotion for the senior marketing director position was announced. I'd spent 6 months working on extra projects, gathering evidence to show why I deserved it. I'd had my weekends interrupted by emergency calls more than 260 times, and I'd even canceled 3 vacations for the sake of the company. Then came the fateful Tuesday meeting. Daniel stood at the front of the room, his eyes shining with pride as he said, "My nephew is clearly the best person for this position. So the $75,000 promotion goes to him." His words hit me like a ton of bricks. Around the room, people nodded and smiled, some even clapped. I sat there, motionless, my proposal folder neatly placed beside me. His nephew, Ryan, was only 22. He had just graduated from business school, and his diploma was still fresh. It was obvious that his only real qualification was being related to Daniel. My colleagues sent me messages, saying how unfair it was, how I'd been robbed. But no one said a word out loud, and neither did I. I just nodded politely when Daniel's gaze landed on me, my face a mask of professional composure. Inside, though, I felt like my world was shattering. After the meeting, I went through the rest of the workday on autopilot. I forced a smile as I congratulated Ryan. I accepted the sympathetic looks from my coworkers, answered client emails, and attended a product development meeting, all while feeling completely empty. That evening, when the office was empty, I sat at my desk, looking at my computer screen. There were 5 years' worth of files, perfectly organized. I'd created processes, solved problems, and built relationships. But I hadn't cried yet, and that worried me. I should have felt something more than this strange numbness. My friend Lily called me for our weekly check-in. "Did you get it? The promotion?" she asked. "They'd have to be crazy not to give it to you." When I told her they'd given it to Ryan, there was silence on the phone. "Daniel's nephew? The one you've been training, the one who asked you if Australia was a continent and a country last month? That's ridiculous. What about the committee? Your performance reviews?" But it was all in vain. The committee had been overruled, and HR reported to Daniel. Lily insisted that I fight it, go to HR and file a complaint. But I just laughed bitterly. It was over. As I drove home that night, it started to rain, matching my mood. My apartment felt so empty. I heated up some leftover pizza and poured myself a glass of wine, then sat on the couch, staring at the wall. My phone kept buzzing with texts from worried friends, but I ignored them all. Around midnight, I opened my laptop and started typing. It wasn't a resignation letter. Instead, I made a list of everything I did at the company that no one else knew how to do. There was the client contact history that only I maintained, the process shortcuts I'd never written down, and the relationship details I'd never shared. The list grew longer than I expected. By 2 a.m. I had a plan forming. It wasn't to quit or to complain. It was something different. The next morning, I arrived at work half an hour earlier than usual. Before anyone else came in, I completely rearranged my desk. I moved my computer to the other side, shuffled my reference materials, and changed my desktop background and screensaver. Small changes, but they felt significant. When my co-worker Lisa stopped by for our usual morning chat, I responded differently. Instead of giving her detailed answers, I just nodded and asked brief questions. "Are you okay?" "You seem different," she finally said. "Just focused." "I have a big project today," I replied with a smile that felt foreign on my face. By lunchtime, I'd changed all my computer passwords, reorganized my filing system, and even parked in a different spot in the lot. Ryan came to my desk at 1:30 p.m. Grinning widely. "Hey, Margie, I wanted to thank you again for all your help these past months. I really couldn't have gotten this promotion without you." At least he had the self-awareness to say that. Then he asked if I could walk him through the history of one of our major clients, Weston Enterprises, which I'd been handling for years. In the past, I would have immediately opened my files and spent hours explaining everything. But this time, I just smiled and said, "Have you checked the shared drive? There should be some basic information there." His smile faltered. "Yeah, but you know those files don't have all the details. They need your special touch." I told him I was really busy and suggested he send me a meeting request for later in the week. Confusion flashed across his face. He'd never known me to be too busy to help before. As he walked away, I noticed Daniel watching us from his office doorway. His expression was unreadable. That afternoon, 3 different co-workers came to me with questions I usually answered right away. To each of them, I asked, "What approach have you tried so far?" By the end of the day, there was a subtle change in the office atmosphere. People seemed a bit hesitant when they approached my desk. I didn't make drastic changes overnight. That would have been too obvious. Instead, I made small adjustments every day. When I was copied on emails asking for solutions, I'd reply with, "Who else might have insight on this?" In meetings, when asked direct questions, I'd say, "What has worked before?" I stopped going on lunch outings with the team and declined meeting invitations without giving an explanation. I even started bringing strong-smelling foods to my desk. I changed my style of dressing, nothing inappropriate, just different from my usual look. People started to whisper. I could feel Daniel watching my every move. 2 weeks after the promotion announcement, our biggest client, Hampton Industries, called with a problem. Ryan had misunderstood their marketing needs and sent a proposal that was completely off base. In the past, Daniel would have immediately asked me to fix it. This time, I overheard him tell Ryan, "Just figure out what Margie would do." But Ryan couldn't. No one could, because I'd never taught them how I thought, only what to do. 3 weeks after the announcement, Hampton Industries requested a meeting with someone who really understood their business. Daniel had no choice but to bring me along. In the meeting, I asked questions that no one had ever bothered to ask before. I didn't just focus on their orders and complaints. I asked about their challenges, their daily frustrations, and their actual needs. The marketing director of Hampton Industries, Miss Thompson, was stunned. "You're the first person here who's ever asked me that," she said. That night, my phone rang. It was Mr. Green, the vice president of Hampton Industries. "Margie, I need to talk to you about something important. I want to speak directly to your company's board. We've been with your company for 8 years, and suddenly we're getting subpar work from someone who doesn't understand our needs." My heart started pounding. This conversation could end my career if Daniel found out, or it could be the leverage I needed. I told Mr. Green carefully that the board met quarterly and that their next meeting was the following week. The chairman was Mr. Carlton. Mr. Green thanked me and said that Hampton Industries wasn't the only client who felt this way. The next morning, Daniel marched into the office, his face pale. "Did you speak with Mr. Green last night?" he demanded in a low voice. I kept my expression neutral. "Yes, he called me." "What did he want?" "He had concerns about recent work." "I suggested he talk to you directly," I said, maintaining eye contact. Daniel's eyes narrowed. "That's all?" I confirmed it, but I could tell he didn't believe me. However, he couldn't prove anything without calling Mr. Green himself, which would mean admitting he was snooping on his clients' conversations. "Ryan will be taking the lead on all Hampton Industries communications from now on. You'll copy him on everything and transfer your knowledge to him this week," Daniel announced. I just smiled in a way that puzzled him and agreed. The knowledge transfer meeting with Ryan that afternoon was eye-opening. He slumped in his chair and complained, "I don't understand why they're being so difficult. We gave them exactly what they asked for." I asked him what they had asked for. He showed me the proposal, a new social media campaign focusing on product benefits. I then asked, "And what are their customers' main concerns about these products? Why would someone hesitate to buy them?" Ryan just blinked and admitted he didn't know. "Isn't that Hampton Industries' job to know?" he asked. I just nodded and made a note. Over the next few days, 3 more major clients requested meetings about their accounts. Each time, Daniel had to include me. And each time, I asked questions that showed how little Ryan understood their businesses. Word spread through the office. People started looking at me differently, some with caution, some with curiosity. I continued my subtle behavior changes. I stopped anticipating problems and waited to be asked directly before offering solutions. The company's workflow started to slow down. There were delays and confusion everywhere. One Thursday afternoon, Daniel called me into his office. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. "What's going on, Margie?" he asked in a subdued voice. "What do you mean?" I kept my expression pleasant and neutral. "You know exactly what I mean. You're different. You're not yourself." "I'm just adapting to my role," I replied. "Your role hasn't changed," he said, looking into my eyes. "Hasn't it?" I countered. He leaned forward, his fingers steepled. "I need you to train Ryan properly. The clients respect you. Help him succeed." "I've shared all the documented processes with him," I said. "That's not enough, and you know it. He needs to understand how you think," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. "I can't give him my experience or instincts. Those took years to develop," I replied simply. "Look, I know you're upset about the promotion," Daniel said. "I'm not upset," I interrupted, surprised by my own boldness. "I'm adjusting my approach based on the company's values, which you made very clear. Relationships and knowledge don't seem to be as important here as other factors. So I'm allocating my energy accordingly." Daniel blushed. "That's not fair. Ryan has a lot of potential." "I agree," I said with a smile. "And now he has the opportunity to reach it." The following Monday, something unusual happened. Mr. Carlton, the board chairman, showed up at the office. This was a rare occurrence. He nodded politely to me as he walked straight into Daniel's office. Through the glass walls, I could see their conversation getting more and more intense. That afternoon, our weekly company meeting was scheduled. Usually, these were quick updates led by Daniel, with occasional presentations from department heads. But this time, it felt different. People shuffled into the meeting room, whispering to each other and looking curious. Daniel arrived last, with Mr. Carlton by his side. "Thanks for coming, everyone," Daniel began, his voice sounding tight. He shuffled his papers and cleared his throat twice. "As you know, we recently promoted Ryan to Senior Marketing Director, and he's been doing well, adjusting to his new role. His usual confidence seemed to be gone. I'd like to recognize his achievement again. My nephew gets the $75,000 promotion." People exchanged confused glances. This had already been announced weeks ago, and a few people clapped half-heartedly while stealing glances at me. Then Mr. Carlton stood up. "Actually, we need to make a correction," he said, looking directly at me. The room went completely silent. Daniel's face froze. "Over the past week, I've received calls from 5 of our top clients. They all want direct access to the person who actually solves their problems. In fact, they've added clauses to their contracts specifically naming this person, Mr. Carlton continued, his eyes fixed on me. A murmur rippled through the room. "Mr. Carlton went on, the board had an emergency meeting yesterday. We've decided to create a new position, Chief Client Advocate. This role will report directly to the board and comes with a $150,000 raise." Ryan's face turned pale, and Daniel looked like he was about to be sick. "Margie, Mr. Carlton said, we'd like to offer you this position effective immediately." The room exploded with applause. My co-workers jumped up, cheering. Lisa squeezed my arm. Even people who rarely spoke to me were smiling widely. I just sat there, not saying a word. I didn't need to. Mr. Carlton added, "We're also implementing a new company-wide knowledge-sharing initiative. Margie will lead this effort to make sure client insights and process improvements are properly documented and shared." Daniel's lips pressed into a thin line. He knew what this meant. All my successful methods would be credited to me, not under his department's control. After the meeting, Mr. Carlton came to my desk. "I appreciate your discretion in this situation," he said. "The board has been concerned about Daniel's management decisions for some time. When 5 major clients threatened to leave at the same time, we took notice." I nodded, understanding what he really meant. The board had been watching, waiting for evidence. That evening, as I was packing up, Ryan hovered near my desk, his confidence clearly shaken. "Congratulations," he said, trying to smile. "I was wondering if we could. I still need your help. Send me a meeting invite, and we'll set up regular knowledge transfers," I replied. "Come prepared with specific questions. My time is valuable now." He nodded quickly and left. On my drive home, Lily called. "I just heard. Dana texted me everything. Chief Client Advocate, a $150,000 raise, and reporting to the board. Margie, this is amazing." For the first time in weeks, I felt a real smile spread across my face. "It's been an interesting day," I said. The first month in my new role as Chief Client Advocate was tough. Daniel avoided me completely, only communicating through email when it was absolutely necessary. Ryan was either resentful or desperate for my approval. The other executives watched me warily, unsure of where I fit into the hierarchy. But the clients were delighted. I traveled to their offices, learned about their industries firsthand, and created customized marketing strategies. Our client retention rate climbed to 98%. I started weekly knowledge-sharing sessions, documenting client insights and teaching others my approach. Some people embraced it eagerly, while others resented being taught by someone they saw as a peer. 2 months into my new role, I overheard Daniel telling another executive, "She's building her own empire in there. The board doesn't see what she's really doing." The comment stung, but it also confirmed that I was having an impact. I wasn't just succeeding, I was changing how the company operated. 3 months later, Mr. Carlton asked me to have a private lunch with him. The board is extremely satisfied with your work, he said as we sat down. Client satisfaction scores are the highest they've been in 5 years. I thanked him. The direct reporting structure has made it easier to implement changes quickly, I said. He nodded thoughtfully. That's partly what I wanted to discuss. Daniel has raised concerns about the organizational structure. He thinks the chief client advocate role creates confusion in the reporting lines. I knew this push-back was coming. I understand his perspective. Change is always difficult, I said carefully. Mr. Carlton studied me. Daniel has suggested bringing your role back under his supervision. My stomach tightened. Was my victory about to be reversed? I see, I managed to say calmly. And what does the board think? He leaned forward slightly. The board thinks Daniel doesn't fully understand the situation. Our clients have made it very clear who they trust. However, he paused, we need to consider the long-term stability of the organization. Of course, I agreed, though a sense of uncertainty crept over me. We'd like to discuss a more significant change, Mr. Carlton continued. The board is considering restructuring the executive team. Daniel has been CEO for 8 years, and while the company has grown, we've noticed some concerning patterns in his decision-making. He prioritizes personal relationships over business results, resists innovation, and doesn't fully understand our clients' evolving needs. My heart started racing. Was he suggesting what I thought he was? We're creating a new position, Chief Operations Officer. This person would oversee all client relationships, marketing strategies, and internal processes. Daniel would remain CEO, but he'd focus on investor relations and long-term vision. Most of his current responsibilities would shift to the COO, Mr.